So
I
I
love it.
just
So
we're just
yeah,
gonna
thank you so
enjoy.
much for the invite.
I thank you for just joining me on today. And we are live. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on today. Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Transformative Talk with Coach V. This is the evening edition of my podcast. Today, I am so fortunate to have my sister with me, my friend, my one of my motivators, and she doesn't even know that she motivates me every day that she posts something. I am so grateful today. I say her whole name just because I don't know, I just do. But I'm thankful to have Kenyatta McCoy Robertson with me today. Thank you so much for joining me on today, Kenyatta. I know your schedule is absolutely crazy, but thank you so much for joining me for this conversation on today.
You are so very welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be here and utilize your platform, hopefully, so that we can help save lives and help bring hope and encouragement to other people that are around us all the time. And I do want to let the listeners know, okay, it is live around the Robertson household on today. You will hear TVs in the background, teenagers around, dogs barking. If you hear it, yes, it is what you hear. And we just gonna roll on through today. So it's live
That's
in the
it.
Robertson household.
That's it. Like I said last week, these are real conversations with real people, and so that is the goal in having these conversations on this month. Um, Again, this month is Black and Indigenous Persons of Color National Mental Health Awareness Month, and so. Just for those that may have not watched last week when I had Latoya on, in the month of May, I had done a post about it. Just was kind of like a quick version of my mental health battles. And it just really got me to thinking like how often we don't have these conversations. You know, there are some of us that do address it and try to encourage and motivate and inspire. Latoya has written a book very explicitly talking about her experience with depression. I have talked about it periodically and throughout certain things. But I wanted to have these real conversations with people that have experienced it and still fight daily to maintain their mental health, their mental well being. And I got to know Kenyatta, I would say probably right before the pandemic happened. We met at church. Her daughter was going to be baptized, and she and I started to get to know each other. And I just started to follow her and listen and read her posts every day. And I remember you posted something, Kenyatta, one day about diamonds. And it was like that day, I was like, you know what? That's why I really like this woman. And it always that post always stuck with me because it wasn't the typical post about diamonds and the pressure that it takes to create diamonds. It wasn't, you did reference that, but that wasn't the whole point of what you were trying to say. It's knowing the difference in whether you know that you're a diamond or that you're a cubic zirconia, and how you show up in the world. And
Absolutely.
that just really, from that moment on, it was like, I got to just make sure that I check out what she writes every doggone day, because he's right. We got to make up in our minds,
Yeah,
about that. That's the most important thing.
yeah, it is.
And just even in the conversation that we were having before we went live, and just talking about, the real life that goes on. And even though people may see the things that we post, and they see the pictures and they see the smiles, you know, but that every day we're still dealing with those things. It is still something that we are still yet reckoning with. And
That's right.
it's not always easy. in spite of what you may see. You don't know what has gone into that. So I just want to be able to talk about those things, talk about that with you today, and why it's so important that we have to stay focused and remember that it is a new day. Just your hashtags alone are the message. It's the opening prayer, the message, and the benediction. So um the I think again, welcome, thank you for taking this time because I know you're busy. But I want to kind of start off by just asking, like, what what was it that made you start posting in that way, and that be the messaging for what you were posting every day?
That's a good question. There's so many people in the world that we come across, and you don't know the history of what their day was like, what their week was like, what they're dealing with at home. Because, as you mentioned earlier, people show you what they want you to see about them.
Mhm.
Most times they sugarcoat their responses to you. How are you today? Oh, girl, I'm great. Or, how are you today? Oh, I'm fantastic. And I've been able to discern a lot of those responses, and how I'm able to discern it is because I've been there and I've done that. So I know
Yeah.
a response that isn't always as genuine because I gave those responses before, just so folks know, or they think that I'm okay when really
Yeah.
I was a hot mess and broken at the time. So I'm thankful that God has allowed me to see past the pain and the hurt and people's responses, and I can come back around and say, okay, you gave me that response, but how are you really? And when I
Mm.
come back again with that question, almost 99.9% of the time their responses are different. So there's so many people in the world that are broken, and I wanted to identify with those people and let them know that you don't have to just be as strong as you feel like you need to present yourself to be. It's okay
Mhm.
to not be okay. And it's when
Yeah.
you really get down to the root of the problem and identify what's going on in someone's life that you can really help them. So that's kind of where the post come from for me. Staying focused. It's a new day, because every single day there's new grace and there's new mercy
Yeah.
you're given. It's new opportunities. It's a new chance to do something different. It's a chance to make something right that you did wrong. It is a brand new day. And staying focused to me is really important. Staying focused is like, if you look up the definition, it's like it's the clear center of interest of an
Oh,
activity. It's what it is. And so
I love
if
that.
focused on something, you can become consistent in that thing. And it doesn't mean that you won't become distracted. It's just I'm so focused on this to where if distractions come, whether it's people or things, you have a little bit more identity within yourself to handle those things.
Yes.
That's where its focused comes from, and that's where it's a new day is all about.
I love it. I love just the thought that went into that, to just really break it down and process it. To I think the more that we're able to do that, then it makes sense to
Mhm.
us, and it can give us real clarity on um the things that we just need to literally just put one
Absolutely.
foot in front of the other each
Absolutely.
day, the things that we oftentimes may allow ourselves to get real distracted by, or easily get caught up with. If you just say, hey, you know what, if I just stay right here, you know it'll be okay. If I tackle this part, the rest of it can fall to the ground at this
Mhm.
point, because I can't run over here and catch this. I can't run over here and catch,
Right. But I
you
can stay
know,
right here.
but I can stay right here because maybe that thing over here is not meant for me to catch. Maybe it's
That's
not meant for
right.
me to tend to, so we're
Right.
sometimes trying to put out fires and deal with things that may not even be meant for
That's
us to
right.
even do. And so we got to be smart enough to know that. And if we don't know, you got to have some that wisdom somewhere along the way that reminds you, hey, no, you need to stay focused over here. You got this issue over here. How are you going to tackle this?
Yeah.
And
I tell myself all the time, worry about yourself. And I say that too, literally in my mind every
uh,
day, cannot worry about yourself. Focus on what it is you're supposed to be focused on. When you get to doing a little bit of all the other stuff and involving other people and their problems and stuff, you add to that mental pressure that is on you, because now it's like, I need to fix my problems and I need to fix their problems, and sometimes their problems are not even yours to worry about. So you gotta worry about yourself, stay focused. Things kind of line up after
absolutely. I love that because I think sometimes we think, well, I'm not going to say what I think. What I know is we believe that if we're dealing with somebody else and their stuff, then we don't have to focus on ours. And the fact of the matter is, you got to return to it.
that.
So it's
Absolutely.
still going to be there. But if I deal with what concerns me, then
Yes.
I can be clear because then,
Yeah.
really you're protecting your peace.
Yes.
um, you're protecting, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, because
Yes.
you got something going on. And you got to be sensitive to know what your triggers are, how that will impact you if I take on all this drama or what they have going on, and it affects your relationships.
It does.
um, when you deal with that, I just thought about, when you were saying that also, how is it that you now translate that to your daughter,
Mhm.
as she's mature? I don't even want to talk about how old she is, because to me
Um,
she's still way little.
right?
But she's navigating in a whole nother world where she has a job
Woo! Girl,
and
she's
all
living her best life right now
in
at
her best
the age of
life.
15.
Yeah. I'm like, no, she was like 11 when I, first started getting to know her
Mhm,
and see her. But
mhm,
how do
mhm.
you now, because they are exposed to so much social media and what's on television and what their friends are doing and seeing and saying, what is it that, I guess there's so many questions I want to ask. I know you'll be able to answer, but what is it that you instill in her or try to really make sure that you share with her consistently as it relates to that? So she is mindful, as she navigates through this new chapter in her life.
Mhm. When you mentioned Reagan's name, I'm not sure if you saw me. It's like my face just lights up because she's one of
It
those.
did.
It's like my pride and joy.
I
Like,
did.
oh
I
my,
saw it.
I call her, and how much time do we have left on here? Because I could talk about her for days and days and days. She's such an amazing human being, and I learned so much from a 15-year-old. I call her my Ray. Her name is Reagan, but I call her my ray of sunshine because that's what she is for me every day. She's sunshine in my life. She brings balance to my life. She brings love to my life. And it's amazing how a 15-year-old can teach a 40-year-old some stuff about
Mm,
life, patience, about life. There's things that I do, and I'm so glad Reagan is who she is. She'll check me on some things that I do that may not line up right. She's like, Mom, you know,
right.
supposed to be like, Mom, that's not the way we're supposed to think about this. Mom, you shouldn't let that bother you. She's that type of person. When I tell you this child has a heart of compassion, she has a heart of love. And this world that we live in is so harsh and it's so unfair. Those are things that I like to instill in Reagan because she's almost ready to go off to college and she's going to get to experience what the real world is like. Number one for me is setting a foundation
Yes.
for her. What is the foundation? It's love. What is the foundation? It's treating folks right. What is the foundation? It's not judging people based upon race, based upon their national geographic location of something or what their disability is about. Because I tell her all the time, you treat people wrong, you'll miss out on some great friendships. that
Absolutely.
God is going to bless your life with because you're choosing to be judgmental about something. So I teach her how to treat people correctly and how to be fair in everything that she does. It's mental at this stage for her because she's at a point in time in her life. She's 11th grade as high school. Lord Jesus, could you
Jesus, it don't
imagine
sound
the
right. No,
things
it
that she
doesn't.
comes home with, that she has heard, from friends that are at the school, or things that are going on in there. I always, and my husband and I, we both do this. We always tell Reagan before she gets out the car to go to school, you are a leader and not a follower. Every single
Love
day
that.
she gets out, you are a leader and not a follower. You set the tone for what it is around you. You are a game changer at your school.
Mm,
You set the atmosphere around you. So when you walk into a classroom or you go through a crowd, it changes the way that they act just because you are in their presence. And so that's what we teach her to be different, stand out. It's okay to stand out because you've been set apart, and when you're set apart, things happen differently in your life.
exactly.
She gets it and she understands it. She knows stay focused. She knows when I take my eyes off the prize, I start to sink. But if I can just get myself back to that thing that I told myself that I was going to be focused on, and I didn't say it was going to be easy for her. She knows that it's not going to be easy. It takes work, actually, to be focused on something, because you have to choose to be different than what the norm is in order to focus on something. And
Oh, I love
so
that.
she knows that about her life. And that's what her dad and I instill in her. So when she gets ready to leave out and go to college, maybe I won't have to worry so much. Y'all, you can take that part out because I know that I will. But that foundation will be there. And for children, if the foundation is laid, they may stray from it from time to time. But if it's laid and it was laid correctly, they'll always be able to come back to it. And so that's my prayer. It's my prayer. That's my hope for her. Is that she remains a leader, not a follower. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. If we give them the foundation, like you said, they may stray away every now and then because life is going to happen. They're going to have these experiences. But if I have this compass, if I have
That's
this
right.
home base,
That's right.
then I can go back to, what, but my mom always told me this, my dad always taught me this. So I
Yes.
can
Yes.
always fall back on that, even when I may get a little bit lost in the world. And I think when we're able to like genuinely, sincerely give our children that type of foundation, even just to be honest and transparent, Kenyatta. I don't know about for you, but to be honest and just say, sometimes as an adult, we lose our way. Sometimes we
Oh,
lose focus.
absolutely.
We,
Every day.
we don't think every thought is not, a godly thought. We're not in the heavenlies 24 hours a day, 7 days
Thank
a week.
you. Thank you.
But I think to be honest, to
Mm,
say, that it's still a process for us, but that we
yeah.
trust God and
Yes.
we trust the plan that He has for our life,
Yes.
and that He already knows that we're going to make some of these decisions and do
Yeah.
some things sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that it makes it more relatable to our children because we're not trying to say, you got to be, I'm up here and I have these expectations, because I think that's when we maybe run them away
You do.
because they feel like they're trying to live up to something that they don't, they know they're not equipped, but they don't know how to say that they're not equipped, but they're
Totally
afraid
agree
to
with
they do everything that they can to
you.
try.
Hmm.
And if we're hard on them, that's where the separation comes. But I think if you
Absolutely.
allow them to just be, to experience things and just continue to have that talk and that walk with them along the
Oh yeah.
way, like you
Oh yeah.
said, they end up checking you, and it's like, oh, I did say that, and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
you're
And
right.
I feel like as parents, we are to, and we just mentioned that we are to lay that foundation, but we are to teach our children how to be independent of us. I think that's the overall goal. It should never
Yeah,
be, okay, they're going to stay at home with me all the time and never venture out. As much as I would love to have that, I know that that's not the case. So I prepare myself and her for the world to be dependent. What are the choices that you want to make? And that's something so very important, because something else that we teach her is that choices, you always have a choice. You always can say yes. You always can say no. You can always walk away. You can always be a part of the crowd. You have a choice. Just know that if your choice is not correct, there's consequences to that,
that's good.
And so we teach her that it's okay to stand out and to make those choices. We want her to come into her own identity for what she's going to be able to bring to this world, and that she doesn't have to follow in our footsteps. I'm a true Jaguar fan. Let's go Jaguars. Let's go. Love me some Jags. Okay. I can sing all the fight songs right now for y'all. And what I love for her, to go to Southern University and attend Southern,
Yeah,
absolutely. But what was for me may not be for her. And I want her to know that. I want you to know you can do other things. It may not be college. It may be this. It may be that. And guess what, baby? The whole world is yours. What do you want to do? And I'm going to support you in that effort. So, yeah.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. Because we have to let them remind them that it's about choices. At the end of the day, it's about the choices that you make. And my job at this point is to just help you navigate and
That's
consider
right.
all of the options and to
That's right.
let you know that it's not always just A and B. There could be a C and a D. It could
That's
be
right.
all of the above.
Yes.
Why limit it to just this one thing? Why can't it be,
Absolutely.
many things? And
Absolutely.
to your overall message, that's why it's so important to stay focused. Because then I think that you can really make those clear decisions and you truly have insight. And then you truly know when you're seeking that wisdom or understanding, you know exactly what you're asking because you know exactly what it is
Absolutely.
that you're expecting. You
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we always let her know that even if those choices are not the right choices, you will make bad choices. You will fail at sometimes,
know?
but the purpose is to get up. We teach her that failure isn't a bad thing at times. Sometimes it's in your failures when you realize what it is you're supposed to be focused on, and how to
Absolutely.
set your mind on that thing that you need to work on. And so we never discourage her from trying things, and it doesn't work. We're not going to be that, oh, I told you, you just shouldn't have done that. Sometimes you got to do it and see how it works for you. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's okay. Let's get up and figure out a new strategy. Let's refocus our thoughts and our minds and ideas, and process it in the way that it should go. And we're going to keep trying those things until we figure out a way to make it work for us. And so I just want to make that clear. We don't have a perfect child
Absolutely.
over here. She's not perfect by all means. She's a normal, regular teenager that get on my nerves from yelling in the room on the video game loud with all her other friends, and you think there's 30 kids in there. I'm not saying I don't experience that in my household, but and we try and be real with her. It's real. It's real. There's no sugar
Yes.
here. Let's talk about it, because mental health is real. Coming into your identity is real. Choosing those things that are right and wrong is real. Knowing how to be focused on those things are real. Struggling to stay focused on those things are real. And so we have real conversations about that in this household.
And I love that. That's the thing that I've come to, love you, is that you're always very honest, even in the things that you post. You know that there's something behind it. And it's, even as we talk about mental health, if you don't mind, just share a little bit about your journey, as far as your mental health, and one of the biggest things that you've learned on this journey that still sustained you, because we're still always growing and evolving, and we learn new things about ourselves. And even when we deal with our seasons of depression or anxiety or whatever it may be, we learn a little bit more as we go
Yeah.
through. But I just wanted you to share a little bit about, what your journey has been like.
Yeah, it's very interesting because up until probably literally up until the start of the pandemic, my life was very different pre pandemic. Not a lot of struggles mental. There's things, that would come up in my life, and I would address those things as they came. But it was like going through the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, there was more storms that I went through in my life, and never suffered from depression like before. But the past couple of years, I'm like, what has happened? Because it changed. Anxiety more about things that were going on just from work and from being a mom and being a wife of
Mhm.
22 years and having to balance what that looked like, in addition to the struggles of each of those, because each of those things has its own circumstances that
Yeah.
come with it. And I haven't always passed the test with those circumstances. And so I began to develop depression, and I began to develop anxiety, and it felt like I was on this island of misfits, if I can put it that
Ooh.
way. And when I think about an island of misfit, I think about what's the show that comes on every year, Rudolph. I think it's Rudolph.
Yes.
And Herbie or Irby or whatever his name was, he wanted to be a dentist, and he didn't fit in with the other people that Santa
Yes.
had working in the shop. And so he was making all these toys, and these toys were toys that the kids didn't want. And so they would send these toys to what was called the Island of Misfits. And so I started to put myself on that island because certain things that I would do just wouldn't work. And I would begin struggling about what I looked like and what I could bring to the world. And if I was being a good parent or a good wife, or just mentally things were changing for me. And I put myself on this island of misfits, and I stayed there for a very long time. And I began to worry, am I ever going to get off this island? How do I get
Mm.
off this island? What do I do to get off this island? And I felt alone because I felt like there was nobody on the island with me. So it was nobody to talk to about it. And there was no help coming my way. And I didn't see boats coming out to the island to rescue me. And I'm telling you, it's simply from God's grace and God's mercy, because I'm very strong in the word. I have that relationship with God. And if it wasn't for that relationship with God, there was days, I'm telling you, I would have lost my mind because I
Mm.
didn't know what to do or how to process what was going on. And when you're in those seasons of being alone and feeling like you're depressed and you don't fit in, the enemy will make you feel like you're the only one struggling with that thing, when really there's so many others around you where it's happening to them too. But he isolates you and he makes you think you just in this thing by yourself, and I'm just going to keep you here. But I'm telling you, oh, if it was not for the grace of God and the relationship that I had with him, and for that support system. So I was thinking I didn't have a support system, but really I did. You become afraid when you are in those seasons and you don't talk about it much, and you put on that face, that happy face. Hey, you keep on
Hey.
going. And that's what people
Mhm.
think it is. But
Yeah.
oh, if they only knew the process of where I was and how I struggle every day, which is another reason for those posts. The post isn't just post, they are what I deal with on a daily basis. If you hear anxiety in the post, most likely that day I'm dealing with anxiety. But however, God gave me a revelation on how to deal with that thing for that day. And He teaches me how to come out of it. This is a daily thing that I crucify,
Yeah.
just in case you didn't know that.
Come
And
on.
Christian, it's one of those things. If it wasn't for the post allowed me to speak what's going on in my heart. They allow me through other people that I interact with through the day, where I've been able to discern what's going on in their life. That post helped me to create words of encouragement that I can share via my social media platforms, to just let people know, when you think that there isn't hope, there is hope. When you need encouragement, there is encouragement. Because I've identified that, the saying is, hurt people.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. Broke people can break other people. But
Come
what
on.
I've learned in coming out of this is that healed people can heal people. So,
Yes.
middle of me learning about what's going on in my life, the struggles that I'm having mentally, and how I cope with that, I'm coming through a season now where I'm starting to heal. And that healing, just want to let y'all know, healing looks different every day. Okay. So if you're in
Yes.
a healing process, one day you're mad in your healing process. One day you're sad in your healing process. One day you feel like you're about to lose your mind in the healing process. One day you just crying it out in your healing process. One day you happy about it in your healing process. And guess what? After you go through all of those, it starts all over. It
Come
starts all
on,
over,
Kim. Kim. Oh, come
all
on.
over again. It starts just when you think you've gotten to the point where, all right, I done been through all this, I'm good to go. I can go out there and I can help heal the world. It starts all over again. But we go back to God's grace and God's mercy, and it's Him that lives on the inside of us, that allow us to become stronger in the midst of our adversity. It's Him that lives on the inside of us, that gives up that hope to get up the next day when you don't feel like getting up the next day. You don't feel like putting on clothes the next day. I don't feel like brushing my teeth the next day. Don't talk to me the next day, because no telling what I'm going to say to you. Yes, Kenyatta has all those days as well. That stay focused and it's a new day isn't always what's on my mind, but it's what comes out when I need to encourage other people to be strong in dealing with what they need to deal with. Um, if it's medication you need, that's why God gave us doctors
That's right.
and the medicine to help us. Don't ever think that medicine is something that you don't need. My mom and daddy told me back in the day, or my grandmothers was like, you don't need that. You're going to be all right. You just brush that off. No, 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 no. What do you need to help you mentally survive your day-to-day battles? We were also told therapists, you don't need no therapy. What is that? We ain't had all that stuff back in the day. Guess
Come
what? We
on.
have it now. So go lay yourself on somebody's couch if that's the type of healing that you need. And mental
Absolutely.
health affects us all. It's not tied to a Democrat. It's not tied to a Republican. It's not tied to Black. It's not tied to white. It's not tied to Hispanic. Every single person in this world struggles from time to time on how they are simply going to make it through the day. We
Absolutely.
are to
See,
be there for each other. Hmm.
yes. Yes. I didn't mean, go ahead. I wasn't trying to cut you
No,
off.
no, that's okay.
I
As
just,
we got to be there for each other no matter what we look like, no matter what situations we're in. We need to learn how to create boundaries, that B word that nobody likes, that separates the foolishness that you don't need in your life to add on to the mental that's already going on. If you create, and for those people that are users, in your life, and they need you, and they just need to eat up every inch of your thoughts and your being, because they need for you to be there for them when you need to be there for yourself. You got to create those boundaries, and people don't like
Yeah.
boundaries because it separates them from getting to you the way that they want to get to you and bother you. If you create those boundaries in your life, I promise y'all, the mental issues that you have about some things, weights kind of feel like they start lifting from a while, for a while, when you let them keep their stuff over there and you just keep your stuff right here, and you worry about yourself and you focus on yourself. That helps your mental. So create those boundaries and get the help that you need. Remove people from your life that shouldn't even be there anyway. You know they ain't supposed to be there. God done told you a long time ago, stop being friends with those people. Or I'm not even gonna say just friends and family. We're talking real talk today, right?
Yes, we
Even
are.
family,
Absolutely.
not yeah, not just friends. There's some folks in your family that has you tied down and in bondage and causing you mental pressure and pain in your life. It could be mom, it could be dad, sister, brother, whoever it is. Let go of those ties that have you so strung out over things that you don't need to be strung out about. That's those choices. Remember those choices we talked about earlier? You have a choice whether you keep those people and things into your life. And y'all, I'm telling you, I can go on and on for day. We could talk about this for the rest of the week if you need to. But I just want to encourage, you guys, do what's best for yourself. And that looks different for all of us. The help that we need looks different. Surround yourself with people in your life that care about you. Because I want you to know not everybody cares about you. You need to identify and separate those associates from friends
Come on.
in your life, because the stronger you can connect your circle together. And let me tell you, my circle isn't even a circle, it's a dot. Because I figured out,
Will you please talk about it, Kenyatta?
Lord, I done figured out how
Will
to.
you please talk about it?
It's just a dot, it's a speck, just like right there,
Come
it's a
on
speck.
here.
And I'm okay that it's a speck, because where I am now mentally in my life is not where I've been for a very long time. And how dare I let anybody come in and disrupt what I've worked so hard to accomplish in my life? How dare I let somebody come in and disrupt those peaceful thoughts that I had, because they weren't always peaceful. Sometimes I just wish that life was over for me. We are
Come
talking
on.
still real today,
Real
right?
talk. That's right.
And so suicide and depression and thoughts are real. And so whatever you have to do to keep your circle tight, your dot tight, that's what you need to do in your life, because this is real. Mental health is so very real. And so I encourage and I challenge you all today that are listening to make those changes in your life. It's okay. You have my permission to make those changes in your life. God has already given you those permissions to make that change in your life. Be obedient to his word, to keep your ear to his mouth, and I promise you things will get better. This too shall pass.
Yeah. Kenyatta. I don't know if y'all are catching all these gems that Kenyatta is dropping, but she has preached a whole message just in what she said. It everything in a nutshell. These are things that we know. These are things that we will be really good to repeat to other people, but do we apply them to our own lives? We've got to create those boundaries. We're allowing things in. There are things that are trespassing that we are giving. We're making the choice to allow it to trespass in our lives. And then we wonder why we're still, catching hell, or why things are not going the way that we desire for them to go. It's because we're allowing the trespassing to take place. We've got to create those boundaries. What you think of me and the choices and the decisions that I make, that's none of my business, because
Obvious.
I have to watch out for myself, because you're not going to do it. It doesn't make you a bad person. It
That's
doesn't
right.
mean that you're not capable,
That's
but I
right.
know what it is that I require. in this place that I am in my life. So I've got to set the tone. And I love what you said. I did a podcast this past season about your village. That sometimes we need to give out some eviction notices.
So
Sometimes we need to allow new people into the neighborhood, because those are the people that can really help us build and grow and develop into what we need to be. But we need to take some time to evaluate the village, to look at the circle. I heard somebody say, first of all, I'm gonna use the dot, the speck. I'm gonna use that.
that's all I got for you.
What you need to do is make that a t-shirt. I don't know
Oh
what you're gonna
my
say,
God.
but it needs to be a t-shirt. And
It's
on
just
the
gonna
back,
say,
it
it's just
say
gonna say dot
hashtag.
with a period.
There you go. And then on the back, hashtag stay
Stay
focused.
focused. There
That
it
was free.
is.
That was free.
T-shirts coming
I'll buy
soon.
one. I need a medium. I'll buy one. I need a medium because that is good. I heard somebody say one time, I don't remember who it was, and I got to figure out who it was. They said that some people, you need to know the people that belong in your circle and the people that belong in the circumference.
Oh, that's a big difference.
You need to know who the people are because this is your mental health we're talking about. Every choice, every action, every decision, every word that you are allowing to be spoken into your spirit, that you're allowing to go in here, that no, allowing to go in here,
Mhm.
that goes to here, that penetrates here,
Mm,
that then comes out of here,
that's
all of that plays a great role. And so you've got to know who those people are. It's not about hurting people's feelings because really, if you're honest, they're probably killing you.
I'm
And
so
you
past
hurt.
feelings. Feeling is
I'm
a feeling. Feeling is something that you can get over. Okay. It's about happiness and it's about joy. So get over the feelings and deal with the real issues at hand. It's
It's the
okay.
facts
It's
because
okay.
your feelings lie, and we've spent so
Absolutely.
much time trying to justify and explain things,
Yeah.
for the sake of others at the expense of ourselves. And we
Yeah.
have to make a decision that, what, I'm paying a bill that one, I don't owe. Two, I really can't afford any longer because it's costing
Thank
me
you.
too much. And
Thank you.
so, I need to make that decision to say, you know what? No, here, this is yours. You're going to
Mhm.
start footing the bill for this. This is no
Mhm.
longer my responsibility. We've got
That's
to think, and we all know the things that they are, Kenyatta.
of
It's
course we do.
being strong enough and bold enough to say, you know what, I got to stay focused on this. I've got to create these boundaries that even though this is the relationship that it has been, what could you be missing out on that
Absolutely.
can really help you with the process of healing in certain areas because you're holding on to this thing? I'm so busy holding on to this and I'm afraid to let it go. But the bigger blessing, the person that could really help you, or the circumstance, the opportunity, whatever it is being held up because you're holding on and being disobedient. Our pastor always says, what you're willing to let leave your hands determines what God can bring to you and put in
Yes.
your. And so
Yes.
when it comes to your mental well-being, your mental health, you've got to put that above everything. Because
Everything
how
else.
can you be a good mother? How can you be a good spouse? How can you be a good employee? How can you be a good co-worker?
Yes.
How can you
Yeah.
be a good sister? How can you be a good friend? We can
When you
fake it.
when you messed up.
You all messed up,
When you
and
messed
you sitting around listening to people that's just as messed up, and y'all having a pity party, because you're justifying each other's dysfunction. That's
yeah.
crazy,
That's how my
and
circle
that's what
became
we
the
do.
dot. That's how
That's
my
it.
circle became the dot.
I
Yeah,
need you to
you
tell
can't
me
be
the truth.
afraid. You
Yeah,
can't be
no.
afraid to make those choices. And I get it. I get it. I get it. I've struggled mentally with that. If I let this person go, then I may not have this anymore in my life. Or if I let that go, because I want to be real about this. It isn't as easy sometimes to just say, this is what you need to do. I get it. I've been
Mm,
there. but it's a process, and you got to be willing for the greater good of your mind to stand up for yourself, to be a mouthpiece for yourself, to be vocal for yourself before your mind snaps and you feel like you need to do something else. You got to do it for yourself, and that comes, it comes in stages. It does. It comes in stages. It comes in surrounding yourself with the right people. It comes with having talks with other good people that are surrounding themselves within the word of God as well. It comes with that, but you got to be willing to make the first step to work towards that. So, yeah, I don't want folks to say, I just woke up one day and realized that this is what I needed to do. That ain't what happened. And don't let me fool you if I made it seem that way, because I'm still working on that. We still a work in
That's right.
progress. Not even every day. I'm a work in progress by the minute, y'all.
Okay.
But it's what I choose to focus on to help keep me in line for what I know I need to be that good mom, to be that good wife of 22
Yes.
years, to be that good employer and employee, to be that good friend, to be that good neighbor. These are choices that I've just decided to make in my life, that I am worthy, that I am um, worth it, to be better for those that are around me and to be better for myself. It's a daily walk, y'all. It's a daily walk to be better. Yeah.
Was there a moment for you, Kenyatta, where where you just had to really make the decision? You know what? Like this is enough. Like I know there's so much more. There's something that is far greater for me. Was there something that just kind of like tipped the scales and just was like, okay, you know what? This is it.
I don't think it was just any particular situation. For me, it was just I was tired of going through the same thing every
Yeah.
day. I was tired of feeling low every day. I knew that there was something greater out there that God wanted me to do and that He wanted me to focus on. And one day I just became determined and trying to figure out what it was. I was
Uh,
tired of being low every day. You get tired of crying every day. You get tired of throwing the pity party every day. For me, it was just only so much lowness that I was going to decide to put on myself. For me, it turned into there was so much negative. Have y'all ever been there where you had conversations with yourself about what's going on in your mind? You literally started talking to yourself about how bad you were and about how bad things were in your life. And when yourself told you how bad you were, that got to a point for me where I didn't want to hear it anymore. I
love that.
wanted to hear something different in my mind.
Love
And
that.
I would say it was at that moment where I decided. So actually, there is, I guess so, a thing that made me decide to turn all this around. I got tired of telling myself that I wasn't good enough. How dare I not tell myself how great I am, because I am.
Good.
But I understand in those low points, that ain't what yourself tells yourself. It's very
Mhm.
difficult to pick yourself up from such a low spot and get in a position, not even where I was standing on my feet, but I felt, Vanessa, if I could just get to my knees, I could have
Okay.
a different outlook about what was going on in my life, because
Yes.
we all know when you're in a position on your knees, then from that point God can help me to stand up. But I had to get to my knees, and my mom would tell me all the time when I was younger. She would use this phrase, and I thought she was crazy. Y'all know all these cliches our parents used to tell us back in the day, like, oh, just keep on living, and oh, if the Lord is willing, then the creek
Mhm.
rise. And I'm like, this is
Okay.
the mess that she's talking about. But oh, I get it now, because if you just keep on living, life and people and situations and circumstances are going to show up in your life. It's going to happen. Okay. It's going to happen. And so for me, my mom would always say, or use back in the day, it's not until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired
Yep.
that you will change things in your life. And I feel like that's what it got for me. I was tired. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same thing that was happening mentally every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every moment of the day, every hour of the day, every minute of the day, every day, every day. I could say every day over and over for the rest of my every day is how it was.
Yeah.
But I got to a point where I started to get tired. And it was only by God's grace where I got the strength to move from a position where I was just laid out, just on my back. And then the next day, I got the strength to just roll over to my stomach. And then the next day, I got the strength to sit up. Then the next day, I got the strength to put one knee on the ground. The next day, I got the strength to put the other knee on the ground. Then I got the strength to use a hand to start to push and elevate myself up. The next day, I got the strength to use the other hand to push to elevate myself up until I was in a standing position. And I refuse, Vanessa, to let anybody take me out of my standing position again.
Come on. I love it. And that is literally for a person that has not had that experience, the way that you just described that is so vivid. Like I'm sitting here with water in my eyes because people don't understand that it is literally just that painstaking, that it's literally just by the next breath that you take, almost being afraid to let that exhale. It's literally that difficult. And when you do get to a point, like you say, that you just really are sick and tired of being sick and tired, you don't know, that, but you don't know what that's going to look like on the other side. But if I can just turn over,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I can just sit up,
Mm-hmm.
if I
Mm-hmm.
can just take one leg and put it on the ground,
Just one.
just one. If I can get the other one out,
Yes.
like it, because it take, because you just, I try to, like describe it to people, or like to my husband, to help him understand, like like what it is in your brain, like what is like really what's like all these things that are shooting off in your brain, to where some people think it's really normal, but for us, it's like an internal battle,
It
you know.
is.
So when you fight to stand, you are not going to let anything, you are not going to let anybody, you are not going to let no devil in hell, none of his hellhounds, any of his minions, none of his witches and warlocks. There is nothing, no thing that is going to make me go back to that. Now,
And
you
it's
may
not to, and it's not
see,
to say that they don't come, because they
that's
still
right,
do.
they still visit.
But I feel like I'm surrounded in a bubble. Remember that movie Bubble Boy?
Yes.
He was in a bubble, and that bubble protected him. I feel like now I'm strong enough in the word, I'm strong enough in my relationship with God, that that bubble, which is his hedge of protection, it protects me. So when things come my way, they do come every day, by the moment, by the hour,
Right.
but I allow them to bounce off the bubble now and not penetrate the bubble to get to me. you know. And I
Right.
still have my days. There's low days and there's high days. And there was days, y'all, where, it wasn't consecutive days that I went from laying on my back to flipping over. It was some time in between all that. It was a process to get to the upright position. And I challenge and I encourage, Vanessa, your listeners and your audience on the call today to just stand up, whatever that looks like to you. Stand up. For some, the stand up may not be a physical stand up of the legs. Some, it may
Mhm.
be a stand up in your way of thinking. Some, it may be a stand up of releasing things and people that have a control over your life. Sometimes that stand up may be letting go of a bad relationship or something that is causing, you mentally to be drained. Standing up for everybody looks different. So I
Yes.
encourage you that whatever your stand up is, find the strength. Ask God to give you the strength and the courage, his strength and courage, because it's different from ours. For
Yes.
him to give you his strength and courage. And I promise you, he's going to take you through a journey of healing. He's going to bring you to a place of complete restoration to where you will now, once you get to your healing, you will be able to heal others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we only have like a few minutes left, and we are definitely gonna have another conversation. So this is not the last conversation that we're going to have with Kenyatta, because there's so many things. I was trying to kind of write some things down that you were saying that I really feel like really need to be expounded on, because I really want people to understand like the seriousness of this process, and understand, you know, it's okay to not be okay, but just acknowledge it and deal with it. Like you said, if you need, therapy, if you need medication, do what you need to do for yourself until such a time that you've learned how to self-regulate, you've
That's
learned to
right.
know your triggers, and the things that may kind of set you off or cause that
Mhm.
anxiety or cause that
Mhm.
depression. Until you get to that place, do what's necessary. I took medication for years.
Yeah.
You know, I can't tell you how many. I was probably on every new medication that came out for
Yeah.
anxiety or depression.
Wow.
You and I just made a decision, because I learned, I started to learn what my triggers were. I started to learn, what this truly was. And God just started to teach me how to be able to see those things and self-regulate. God put me in that bubble, like you
Yeah.
said. Some
Yes.
situation I should have lost my mind, that really should have taken me out and probably, had me wearing orange or some stripes. God
Right.
kept me, and we just real conversation,
This is
you know,
real.
God kept me, and he did not allow the things that used to happen, like the panic attacks, like
Yeah.
feeling like I was going to get on the interstate and put the car in reverse and just put my foot
Yes.
in the gas.
Yes.
He didn't allow those things to happen. And
Oh, been there, done that.
whatever it is you need to do that for yourself. So we're not saying don't, but we're saying you've got to make some choices, like
Right.
my sister said. You've got to make some choices. You've got to establish some boundaries for yourself. You've got to make some new decisions and stay focused on those things for your own mental well-being. Start with those things. Be bold enough. Somebody said earlier, it's the boldness. Be bold enough to say, you know what, this has got to be addressed. I can't
Yes.
live like this anymore. I'm tired of faking it. I'm tired of pretending that everything is okay when really it's not. That I'm putting on this great picture for people to see, but I'm going home, drawing the blinds and getting in the bed.
Right.
That's not the life for you, And so do whatever, but I definitely want to, have have more conversation with you. But I want to give you this the last couple of minutes to just share whatever it is on your heart that you really want people to know, or the biggest message that you want to leave with everybody that's watching or may watch later on.
My message is that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Do y'all know how many times I tell myself every day, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And the more
Mm,
I say it, it's okay. It's okay, Kenyatta. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay that you're struggling in this area in your life. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's gonna pass. Things are gonna get better.
yes.
Sometimes for us, it's a lack of hope and encouragement that things are going to get better. Sometimes it may surpass yourself and the strength that you have within you to do it yourself. That's why that circle around you is so important. That's why the things that you are taking into your mind, the things that you are hearing from other people, the things that you are watching on TV, that has a
Yeah.
lot to do with your mental. We into all kind of shows and stuff these days, and it's a lot of drama
Yep.
going on. I try not to, and I'm not saying for those that watch it, y'all, please forgive me. I'm not, it depends on where you are in your journey. Remember when I said I wasn't going to let
Absolutely.
anything knock me back down again. So I set up walls and boundaries around me to where the things that I hear, whether it's radio, whether it's television, whether it's another person's voice, if it's something that's not going to build, uplift, and encourage me, I block it. It's the same thing with my visual, what I am watching on television, or whether it's the internet or what it is. If it's something that doesn't build or encourage or uplift in some type of shape, form, or fashion, then I block it from my vision, because it's easy to let things back into your mind that allows to knock yourself back down again. Tell yourself it's okay. Tell yourself it's going to get better. If nobody tells it to you, tell it to yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kenyatta, thank you so much for just spending this time with me. I appreciate you and your willingness to be honest, to be real, to share those parts of yourself every day consistently just in your posts. I honor you for the woman that you are, that you're able to exemplify the balance, yet be honest that there's some struggle in this, but I strive to have this balance because it's not just for me, but it's for those that are attached to me. And I thank you for just being the woman that you are, the woman of God that you are, the example that you set for us, and that you continue to just be consistent and determined in it. That means so much. I can always rest assured that at some point in the day, I'm going to run across your post and it is going to be so accurate for that day, you know, and it's like, and Kenya and I cut up in, like, I cut up in her
Oh,
comment.
we cut up. Mm.
Sometimes I'm like, she has taken less than 20 words and preached a whole sermon. And I'm like, who does it?
Who does that?
It can only, for me, like, she's the only person that can do that. I'm like, she has just said a mouthful in, like, 20 words or less. She has preached my life. She has, like, that's it right there.
The doors of the church are now closed.
Church are open, by invitation. I got a collection plate. I'm ready to do offering for her because it's so true and we need that truth. And I want to continue just to have these truthful, honest conversations. Like you said earlier, we've spent so much time, saying these things and repeating things that are not true, based on what our ancestors have told us. And we're still carrying the trauma. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
still dealing with the trauma of that. And
Yeah, we
so we've got to have these conversations and know that there's a life that God's intended us to live, and we're not even living it. We hadn't
not
even tapped into it. So we got to get past this part of it. And so I just thank you and honor you for being who you are every day, because what you see is what you get. And I'm grateful for that. Your family is so blessed to have a, for your husband to have a wife such as you, for Reagan to have such a powerful example of what
thank
it
you.
is to walk this life and to walk it honestly and transparently. And so I am just thank you, Kenyatta, for just being my friend, being my good sis.
It's so
I
easy to love
keep,
you. It is so easy to
oh,
love you.
thank you. And I just give God glory. I thank God that He's very intentional when when He brings people
Oh,
together, and just meeting you, instantly, like I fell in love with you. And so I'm grateful for our connection and that it continues to grow. And, I look forward to being able to do more things with you and have more conversations. So, Kenyatta will definitely be back, so we can have some more conversations. I know she's got a meeting to go to. So, thank you again.
you're so
Uh,
welcome.
joining me. Have
You're
a
welcome.
great rest of the evening. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes in case people have some questions, but I know that we were
Awesome.
trying to be really strategic in your time, so
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so very much for those of you. If there's any questions that you need to direct my way, you guys can inbox me those questions or send friend
yes,
requests, or Vanessa can send those questions to me. And anything in addition to what has taken place today, anymore emphasis that I need to share, things that you guys would like to hear from me, I'm so open with that. But I do, right before I get ready to hop off, I encourage you guys. And I love to say this, whether it's work or whoever the group of people are that surrounds me in my presence, before I let them go, I always like to challenge them that if they are not having a good day, to change it and to make it a great day. So that's what I hope that you will do for the rest of the day today, and how you will start your new day on tomorrow. So thank you so much for having me.
thank you so much, Kenyatta. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, for
have a
joining
great
me
one.
on today. You too. You too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love you much, my sister.
Love you more. We're going to talk soon. We're going to talk.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
All right. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Kenyatta had another meeting and she was determined to schedule this hour with us. And so I'm really honored that she, took the time to just be with us on today to have some really good conversation. If you did not catch it from the beginning, I strongly encourage you to go back and watch the entire hour. When I tell you Kenyatta dropped some gems on this live, every other sentence out of her mouth was a straight up wisdom. And that's the thing that really drew me to her. And how we just became such close friends, because this just things that she would share and things that we would talk about, she would just be so on point. And I love some of the things that she shared, just the importance of establishing boundaries. I love the example that she gave, when she was talking about, when she was kind of dealing with her depression and going through this season. She said she felt like she was on an island and she felt isolated. And she used the example of, there's a Christmas special, it's Rudolph and the Island of Misfits or something like that. And I was like, how accurate and how vivid is that, because if we're ever just really, really honest about this journey, if we're ever really honest about the things that we go through, there is a time that you feel like you are just a misfit and all of the people around you are normal, and that they don't have these same things going on that you have going on. But when you make that decision to say, hey, you know what, it's okay, like she said, in the end, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that you have life going on and you have these issues going on. You just got to make the choice to get up. You just got to make the choice to stand. Make the choice that today I'm going to do something different. We have choices. That's another thing that she talked about. We have to choose. She said, you have to choose to be different in order to stay focused, to have that true focus that I am only worried about myself and the things that pertain to me and my mental health and my mental well being. I got to stay focused. And I have to choose that daily. And so I hope that there is something that was spoken on today, something that she shared that will be helpful to you as you continue your journey to wholeness and to healing, to really discover things about yourself that you really need to get healed. That's another thing that she said. We always say, hurt people, and that's true, but healed people can help heal people. And that's the thing that one of the things that I love that Kenyatta said. When we get to a place that we're healed, even though we may still be going through the process, we're able to help heal others. um, and so the things that we're learning, that we're able to then share. I love, my pastor always says, these are things that we're learning and that we experience and that we get to enjoy, but then we get to transfer it. And so others can then experience the same things that we're experiencing. And that's what it's really all about at the end of the day. We don't want to see our brothers and sisters struggling. We don't want to see them suffering. We don't want to see them going through things that they don't have to go through. Let them know that they have a choice and that they can choose to do different. But when they make that choice, that will help them to be focused. I love how she put all of that together and made that thing just make complete and total sense. I thank you guys so much for joining us. I see your comments. Um, I thank you guys for showing up and just commenting. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes. I love something that Kanitra said earlier, when we were talking about things that we allow to have us in bondage. And she said it's definitely the attachment. Sometimes we get attached to things and people and we're worried about hurting people's feelings. Sometimes those things are the things that keep us in bondage, and keep us from God's very best for us. And so we could be missing out on things, because we're so worried about other people. I love when Kenyatta was talking about, she got tired of the story that she kept hearing, the narrative that she kept hearing in her head every day. And that's what made her make this decision that, what, enough is enough. And so when we want to change that mental narrative is when we'll start changing our life and making decisions that are better for us. And people will see the fruits of our labor and the things that we walk through. Our children will see the fruits of our labor, our consistence, our persistence, our commitment, our dedication. Those are things that they will then apply to their own life. And they, like Kenyatta said, they may stray away sometimes. They may, make some decisions because they're going to do that. We did that. But if they have that firm foundation that we've established for them, they'll always come back. That compass will always, lead them back to that home base, and they will, get back in line with the things that God desires for them. They'll get focused on the things that God desires for them. Before I close out, I wanted to just share with you guys another little bit of what encouraged me to do these lives in the month of July. As I've been saying, this month is considered Black and Indigenous People of Color's Mental Health Awareness Month. And as I kind of looked into just trying to get a little bit of information, I got some things written down. So just kind of um, bear with me as I read it. This is something that was formally recognized in 2008 as B.B. Moore Campbell, and we know she's a famous African American author. It was formally recognized as B.B. Moore Campbell National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And it was created to bring awareness to the struggles faced by minorities in the United States. She's was a big advocate for mental health awareness. Did a lot of work in this area. And really brought it to the forefront. So when this was founded in 2008, that's what it was formally recognized. And as you can see, that was a very, very long title. But according to, I looked up some stuff just to try to get some statistics and get some background information. And there was something done in 2019 that says suicide was the number one, well, I'm sorry, was the second leading cause of death for African Americans aged 15 to 24. This was in 2019. Suicide was the second leading cause of death for African Americans ages 15 to 24. And so if we sit and we think about the teens that we know, the young adults that we know, that's that demographic. Mental illness is generally characterized by dysregulation of mood, thought, or behavior. And this is as recognized by the American Psychiatric Association. And it affects 1 in every 5 adult Americans. Every 1 in 5 adult Americans, there is some type of mental illness or mental health concern. Mood disorders, such as depression, is most pervasive. Depression, mood disorders, that's the thing that's most pervasive, and it looks different for different people. There are people, depression is not just um not wanting to get out of the bed, drawing the shades, not wanting to take a bath, you know, that's a part of it, and can be something that maybe, for some people it's representative in that way. But for me, I was a high functioning depressed person. I had a very stressful job. I was working 45 to 55 hours a week at a very high pressure, high stress job that had quotas every month. Um, I was supervising a staff of 5, and very stressful, but you could not tell me I didn't know my job. I was accurate. I was on time every day. I was not disheveled. I got dressed every day, dressed very well. Makeup was done, hair was done, was on it on that job. Couldn't tell me. But then going home I was exhausted because I spent the whole day pretending to be something, pretending to be in such control of everything when I really wasn't. And so that depression looks different for everybody. So don't just assume that there's so much more behind it. Um, this was a number that was very shocking to me. There are 6.8 million African Americans that suffer with some type of mental illness. And so these are things that I really, really just kind of stood out to me and really just made me say, you know what, this is a conversation that we need to have more often. It shouldn't be just relegated to one, Mental Health Awareness Month in May, and then mental health awareness for Black and Indigenous people in July. This is something that we need to talk about every day because people are dealing with it every day. I found also that there was some work done in 2014 that found African American men are more than 4 times greater to die from suicide than men. Now, that was back in 2014. I would have to look up and see if there's a statistic that's even different from that. But you can go to the Office of Minority Health with the Department of Health and Human Services, and they have a whole section that gives statistics. They have a whole report. Um, in 2019, Black females grades 9 through 12 were 60% more likely to attempt suicide. So those are just a couple that I wrote down. That's just a couple. But you can go, like I said, to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It's the Office of Minority Health. They have all these statistics. They have all these facts. You're absolutely right, Adrian. It's because it's swept under the rug. We've listened to our grandmothers, we've listened to our aunts. You don't talk about your problems. What goes on at home stays at the house. We don't talk about it. Kenyatta even said it when she was talking. We're told you don't go to therapists, you don't take medication. We're taught in church, you know, that shouldn't be. We shouldn't do those types of things. And we do more harm than good. I think the intention is good. And we'll hear people say, you know, and I think Kenyatta even alluded to it, we'll hear, our elders say that, they went through it and they turned out just fine and that, but did they really? We are still dealing with the trauma of our ancestors that laid in the bottoms of slave ships, that picked field cottons in the field, that were raped by their owners. We're still dealing with that trauma. And it was passed down. We were taught we didn't have a voice. We didn't cry. We didn't express. We didn't display weakness. We don't talk about those things. And so the fact of the matter is, while we try to justify it as strength, it really has been the thing that really undoes us. And so here we are in 2022, still dealing with the trauma, still dealing with the pain and the hurt and the devastation of those things, because they've now manifested themselves in our lives. And we're wondering why we're struggling in certain areas, why we're struggling in relationships, why it's hard for us to have true, genuine connections, because it's been swept under the rug and we don't talk about certain things. And so I just desire to challenge that and have these real conversations, because we are out here experiencing real life and the struggle is real. And so is Jesus. And I'm 1,000% on that boat. But we got to talk about these things, and we've got to serve the enemy notice that even though this may have been the thing that my ancestors experienced, I know better, so I'm going to do better. And so I got to set myself free. I choose to walk in freedom. I choose to walk in liberty, because Jesus died on the cross for that. And so because he died, it went to the grave. He may have risen, but it's that thing died and it stayed there. And so I have a choice. I get to make a choice. I got free will, that I'm going to live and not die, that I'm going to continue to speak life into myself and not death, that I'm going to get up, that I'm going to stand. And when I've done all that I could do to stand, I'm going to stand some more. I'm going to trust God to match his super with my natural, that I'm going to take him at his word and let him do the things that are impossible for me to do. Let him do the things that only he can do. But I got to make a choice. I got to do something. The Bible tells us faith without works is dead. So I gotta do some things. I gotta put one foot in front of the other. God, I don't know how this is gonna work out, but God, I trust you that you are going to do something mighty and miraculous, that my life is not gonna be the same, because I have chosen today to stay focused on your word and your promise. That's what these conversations will continue to be about. And we'll have many more people on that will have these conversations, that will get to share their experience with us. And we're going to just change the narrative of what this is and what it looks like, especially in the African American experience. And so, if you have questions, if you have things that you would like to know more about, please do not hesitate to leave a comment in the comments. Make sure that you're letting StreamYard, giving them permission so that I can see your name. Feel free to send me a message, inbox me. Um, and let me know. Let me know if there are things that you want to hear discussed. Let me know if there are things that you want to talk about. And so we can talk about those things. We're not going to be silent about this. We're going to speak up and we're going to speak out. We're going to let the enemy know that he has no more dominion. He has no power. He has no control. We're going to speak those things out and serve him notice. And we're going to live the life that God has desired for us to live from the beginning. I thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Transformative Talk with Coach V. Please like this broadcast. Please share it with others. Please catch it from the beginning if you missed it, because I'm telling you, Kenyatta went in and she shared some great, great nuggets, and she absolutely will be back. I hope that you will join me on next Thursday at 7. We're going back to 7 o'clock. Kenyatta had some meetings, and that's why we did 5 o'clock today, because she really wanted to do it. And I really wanted to accommodate her schedule because she was, making it her business to be with us on today. And I'm so thankful for her for being with us on today. But we're going to go back to 7 o'clock on next Tuesday, where my guest will be the one, the only, my big sister, Juliet Burke. She will be with us, and we're going to have some real conversation yet again. Because if you thought Latoya was real, in which she was, if you thought Kenyatta was real, in which she absolutely was, wait until you hear the conversation that Juliet and I are about to have. I feel like conversation that Juliet and I are going to have is going to be like you're going to get a sneak peek into the conversations that she and I have on a regular basis. And I know that it will be definitely something that is going to benefit you. It's going to edify you. It's going to build you up, and definitely give you some insight as you continue on your journey to being made new, as you continue on your journey to being transformed in your mindset, being empowered and being inspired. So join me again on next Tuesday at 7 o'clock for another episode of Transformative Talk with Coach V, the evening edition. Thank you guys for joining me. Have the most amazing evening. Have a great rest of the week. Remember, today is a great day to be made new, and you know that I am always, always rooting for you. Until next time, guys, take care.